Making a choice that is 1% better or 1% worse is insignificant in the moment. But over the span of moments that make up a lifetime, those choices determine the difference between who you are and who you want to be. And that is the tea. That quote is from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. 10 out of 10 would recommend. He gives a really good example of that quote. Let's say a pilot is taking off from Los Angeles to New York City. If the pilot adjusts the nose of the plane just 3.5 degrees south, that plane will end up in Washington, D.C. Do we even know what 3.5 degrees is? It's like this. No, even that's too much. Like that. Even though it's nothing, magnified across the entire United States will have you end up in a completely different destination. So similarly, a small, slight change in your daily habits can have you end up in an entirely different life situation in 10 years from now. Everyone has bad habits that they've been meaning to quit for a while. How many times have we all said, like, crap, I've been eating junk food all day, all week, and I don't feel good about it. But tomorrow I'm gonna change, tomorrow I'll start that new diet. Or I spent way too much money this month, but after I pay off this credit card bill, that's it, I'm starting my new budget next month. But then next month comes and you're still eating junk food, still overspending, and still smoking.
What are you doing?
We've all been there in some way. A lot of people try to quit cold turkey, but that never works because when you form a habit, whether good or bad, you're literally rewiring your brain to form a neurological pathway to do that habit over and over and over again until the point where you don't even feel like you're making the decision to choose to do that, you just feel a compulsion to do it. If a computer for some reason is programmed to automatically open the internet browser every time you hit the space bar, you can't just think it's going to be different one day just because you believe it's going to be. If you want to change that program, you have to go in and fix the system, fix the computer coding. And today we're diving into how to fix the coding, how to rewire our brains and make concrete changes instead of just wishfully thinking we're going to. The book says that breaking a bad habit breaks down into 4 steps. Make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying. Okay, the first tip to breaking a bad habit is to make the cue invisible. A lot of habits are cue induced, like how every time we hear our phone notification sound, we check our phone. It's a common misperception that people who break bad habits are just like super hardcore, disciplined, motivated people who have insane self-control and resistance. But really, the people that are the most disciplined actually set up their environment for success so that they don't have to rely on discipline and self-control. So instead of summoning this insane willpower every day, just remove the mental candy, basically, the temptations from your environment so that you don't have to fight an urge every single day. For example, and I'm not speaking for myself or anything, if you're trying to stop ordering in food every day, delete apps like Uber Eats. If you're really serious about trying to stop drinking, maybe move out of an apartment that's right across the street from a liquor store so you don't have to stare at it every single day. If you're trying to quit the habit of running back to a toxic ex, block them. Okay, the second step to breaking a bad habit is to make it unattractive.
Maybe it's just because you're ugly.
Ugly?
There's a couple ways to do this, but one is, well, obvious. So reading and processing and really sitting with the feeling of why smoking or unhealthy eating is bad for you can really gross people out enough to stop. It's kind of like knowing how the sausage is made, like people who watch those videos on how hot dogs get made in factories and then they're so disgusted they never eat a hot dog again. It's basically like forcing yourself to become disgusted with who you are. Okay, not who you are, but like what you like. But that method might be a little hardcore for beginners, so here's another method to make a habit unattractive. Every habit or action we take has an underlying motive. Sometimes we're driven by hunger, love, reproduction, fear, but one huge motivating factor is to be socially accepted. In fact, we imitate the behaviors and habits of the people around us a lot, like what kind of clothes we wear. We mow our lawns so that our neighbors don't judge us. Like, I don't think we're out here mowing our lawns because we really like pushing this machine up and down a patch of grass. We do it because it results in us not being the weirdo on the block, and so that Susan from down the street doesn't talk I think a lot of people who even want Porsches or BMWs do it because of the status it gives them with their family and friends. I don't think most people are like, yeah, I really like the V8 engine of the alt-turbo hybrid optimization, 8 kilohertz greater than the G-force of the clutch. There is a mechanic that probably just had a heart attack hearing that. Like, sis, if you don't know what an 8 engine turbo whatever is, fine. I digress. But my point is that we are so motivated by popularity status and social acceptance. And we can use that to our advantage to break bad habits. Like, you can put yourself in an environment where having that bad habit would be really unattractive and you would be a social pariah weirdo who did not fit in. If you're serious about breaking a bad habit, maybe make new friends, maybe join a finance club where budgeting and saving is the norm and you're the weird one if you're paying $20 for a vodka soda. Like, if all of your friends thought it was really dumb to spend hundreds of dollars getting drunk with strangers and stumbling home at 2 a.m., you'd probably be a lot less likely to do it. Moving on, the third step to breaking a bad habit is to make it difficult.
That'll take care of it.
Technology has created such a level of ease and convenience for us. Like when Netflix and YouTube load up the next video and start playing it automatically, like, I'm like, whoa. Can we pause? Like, did I give you permission to do that? But no, there I am, victim to the website, watching the 16th episode of Schitt's Creek at 2 a.m. So similarly, when we want to break a bad habit, we have to increase the friction to make it more difficult. So some examples would be, if you want to watch TV less, maybe take the batteries out of the remote. And if you're up for level 2, maybe unplug your TV. Level 3, maybe just take the whole frickin' TV and put it in the closet after every use, so that every time you want to use it, you have to now like lift this 40-pound TV, plug it in, find the batteries for the remote and put it back in, and then you can watch Stranger Things. It makes it so you have to think about it, be really sure you want to do it, and then still jump through hoops to do it. The fourth trick to breaking a bad habit is to make it unsatisfying. So like, you could make doing the bad habit punishable. It can actually be pretty effective. The book explains that in 1984, the very first seatbelt law was passed in New York. And at that time, only 14% of Americans wore seatbelts. But just a few years after that law was passed that would fine people if they weren't wearing one, more than 50% of people were wearing seatbelts. And then it became a law in 49 states, and by 2016, more than 88% of people always wore seatbelts. So in just over 30 years, the government was able to change the habits of millions of people, which would seem impossible otherwise, but punishments or the threat of punishments can be pretty effective. So some examples are, and these are pretty funny to me, but hey, if it works for you, it works. If you want to stop sleeping in, maybe schedule a horrible tweet or email to your boss that automatically is scheduled to get sent out in the morning unless you wake up early enough in time to stop it. You can put money into a jar every time you curse or smoke.
Jar, $20.
If you're really hardcore, maybe invest in a shock collar for every time you reach for the cookie jar. I'm just kidding, please don't do that. Or do. But if those are too intense for you and maybe you work better off of positive reward systems instead of fear, this next step is for you. The human brain is very adapted for pleasure and satisfaction, but more specifically, immediate satisfaction. And this makes sense, right? Like our ancestors that were animals in the savannah had to focus on the immediate threat, the next meal, the tiger that was actively trying to rip out their throats, not what they were gonna name their kids 10 years from now. We still have that thinking hardwired into us. We care about the now. We want to feel good and we want it now. And that makes a lot of sense for how we act now. When we eat a yummy double bacon cheeseburger, we are tasting the savoriness immediately, not the weight gain and clogged arteries. Our craving gets immediately satisfied, so it can be really hard to stick to rules like no Uber Eats for a month, no drinking for a month, because we don't get that satisfaction. There's nothing satisfying in just resisting temptation. It just sucks, right? So then I guess the million-dollar question is, how do we make breaking a bad habit satisfying, rewarding? If you want to stop spending money, every time you get the urge to buy Starbucks but resist it, transfer $5 into your savings. You can get that immediate reward of seeing your bank account go up. Every time you want to smoke but don't, maybe treat yourself to a favorite snack. This way you have an incentive to break your bad habit, because otherwise it's just suffering. And you have no reason to want to do that. And those are the 4 ways you can break a bad habit. And I think creating a good habit goes hand in hand with this. If you want to stop eating junk food, fine. You can use this video to stop eating junk food, but then you need something to replace it with. You need to create the good habit of eating healthy food. Otherwise, it can be really easy to just default back to your old bad habits. So if you want the full rundown on that, definitely check out this video up here about how to create a good habit and make it stick long term. That is all I have for you guys today. I really hope this helped, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!